If you've spent your whole life being the kind woman, the one who over-explains, over-gives, over-apologizes, and over-loves, then listen closely. Because kindness isn't your problem. The problem is the version of kindness you were taught to live by. The kind that drains you, the kind that makes you invisible, the kind that teaches others to take advantage while you stay quiet. Today, I'm not asking you to stop being kind, I'm asking you to stop being that kind of woman. The one who sacrifices her worth just to keep the peace. Because the moment you stop being their kind of kind is the moment you start being the woman you were meant to be. You've been told that being kind is always the right choice. That kindness means saying yes, even when it hurts. That kindness means putting everyone else's needs above your own. And for years, you've lived that way, thinking that being kind would earn respect, love, and gratitude. But here's the truth. When your kindness comes at the expense of your own boundaries, it's not kindness, it's surrender. It's exhaustion disguised as virtue. And no one respects exhaustion. No one honors a woman who has nothing left for herself because she's constantly giving to others who don't even notice. Real kindness doesn't demand that you erase yourself. It doesn't demand that you sacrifice your peace just to make someone else comfortable. You've spent your life believing that if you keep giving, keep smiling, keep being accommodating, people will eventually see your worth. But here's the hard reality. They won't. People respect what they cannot take. They value what they cannot ignore. When you allow them to cross your boundaries, when you allow them to walk over your heart, you're teaching them that your comfort is optional. And when your comfort is optional, your value is negotiable. Think about it. How many times have you said yes to something you didn't want to do? How many times have you swallowed your feelings, smiled through your pain, and made someone else's life easier while your own was unraveling? That's not kindness, that's compliance. And compliance has a cost. It costs you your energy, it costs you your confidence, and, most importantly, it costs you your sense of self. Every time you ignore a boundary, every time you let someone push past what you're willing to tolerate, you're giving them permission to keep doing it. You're training people to expect more from you than you are willing to give. And here's the secret: most people won't tell you. The women who are truly respected, the women who are admired, the women who are impossible to take for granted, they are not the ones who are nice to everyone at all times. They are the ones who are nice on their own terms. They are the ones who have boundaries, who say no without guilt, who protect their energy fiercely, and who never apologize for taking care of themselves first. They understand that being kind doesn't mean being limitless. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Being kind is about balance. It's about giving when it aligns with your values, your energy, and your self-respect. You have to understand this. Every time you let someone overstep, every time you bend to meet someone else's expectations, you chip away at your own power. And the people who are meant to respect you will never fill the gaps you leave behind. They will never value what you haven't protected. So start protecting yourself. Start seeing your boundaries not as barriers, but as a declaration. I am here. I am whole. I am not negotiable. Start saying no when it matters, even when it's uncomfortable. Start prioritizing your peace over someone else's convenience. And watch how the world begins to shift. People will start noticing. People will start respecting you. People will start treating you as someone who cannot be taken lightly. Kindness without boundaries is chaos. Kindness without boundaries is invisible. But kindness with boundaries is unstoppable. That is the kind of woman who cannot be ignored, cannot be disrespected, and cannot be taken for granted. Protect your energy, protect your heart, protect your boundaries, because the moment you do, everything changes. And that's where your real power begins. You've been kind to people who don't deserve it. You've given your time, your love, your energy to people who barely notice when you're gone. And somewhere along the way, you were taught to believe that kindness fixes disrespect. That if you keep being patient, keep giving, keep forgiving, eventually people will see your worth. But kindness does not heal selfishness. Kindness does not transform people who only know how to take. And the moment you keep giving grace to someone who doesn't earn it, you're not being kind, you're being convenient. You're making it easier for them to continue their behavior, and you're teaching yourself to settle for crumbs when you deserve the feast. Think about it. How many times have you endured someone's selfishness because you believed your kindness could change them? How many times have you covered up someone else's inconsistency, made excuses for their lack of effort, or swallowed the sting of disrespect because you didn't want to be labeled as difficult or hard? Stop. Stop believing that your patience can turn someone into a person they're not. Stop believing that your love can make them see what they've been blind to. Some people are not looking to grow. Some people are not capable of seeing the value you bring, and no amount of kindness will force them to. Kindness is not about being taken for granted. It is not about enduring disrespect silently. Real kindness is deliberate. Real kindness is discerning. You choose when to give, and you choose who deserves it. You do not hand it over to the person who drains you, who disrespects you, who only reaches out when it benefits them. Because the truth is, the people who respect you don't need to be reminded. They don't take advantage. They don't question your worth. They honor your presence without you having to prove it. And the people who take, they will continue taking until you stop letting them. You have to start asking yourself some uncomfortable questions. Why do you keep trying to earn the respect of someone who doesn't even see you? Why do you keep investing in people who only respond when it suits them? Why do you keep defending behavior that would never be tolerated from anyone else in your life? The moment you stop rationalizing their behavior, the moment you stop excusing their selfishness, is the moment you reclaim your power. You stop being the kind woman who silently tolerates everything and start being the woman who commands respect without needing to demand it. And here's the beauty of it. When you stop giving your kindness to people who don't deserve it, you make space for those who do. You make space for people who lift you up, who honor your time, who appreciate your effort without you having to explain it. You stop watering weeds and start nurturing what can actually grow. You stop being exhausted from people who drain you and start feeling alive around those who energize you. This is not selfishness. This is not cruelty. This is survival. This is self-respect in action. Kindness without respect is weakness. Kindness without reciprocity is not kindness, it's a trap. But when you pair your kindness with discernment, when you give it only where it is valued, that kindness becomes powerful. That kindness becomes magnetic. That kindness becomes a force that shapes your life instead of being used to diminish it. Stop giving your heart to people who will never cherish it. Stop giving your time to people who only notice it when it suits them. Stop giving your grace to people who do not earn it. Because once you do, the world will begin to treat you differently. You will begin to see yourself differently. And you will finally understand that real kindness always comes with the price of self-respect. And that is how you reclaim your power. You've been taught to apologize for everything. For speaking your mind, for wanting more than someone is willing to give, for expecting respect, for having standards. And for too long, you believed that a kind woman is a woman who shrinks herself so that others feel comfortable. But here's the truth. Your standards are not cruelty. Your standards are not selfishness. Your standards are clarity. And every time you apologize for them, you're sending a message that your worth is negotiable, that your expectations are optional, and that your voice doesn't matter. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you held back from saying what you really wanted because you didn't want to upset someone? How many times have you softened your tone, walked on eggshells, or diluted your needs just to avoid conflict? That isn't kindness. That isn't humility. That's fear disguised as politeness. And the people around you don't respect fear. They don't admire weakness. They don't honor a woman who is constantly compromising herself to keep them comfortable. They only notice the woman who stands firm, who refuses to apologize for having standards, and who will not settle for anything less than what she deserves. When you apologize for having standards, you're essentially saying, I am willing to be treated in a way that makes you comfortable even if it hurts me. And every time you do that, you reinforce the idea that your heart, your time, your energy, your very self is optional. That's not love. That's not kindness. that's surrender. And it comes at a cost far greater than you realize. Because the moment you start apologizing for your boundaries, your expectations, your needs, you stop valuing yourself in the eyes of the world, and worse, you start doubting your own worth. But here's the thing. Having standards is not a flaw. Expecting respect is not arrogance. Wanting honesty, consistency, and loyalty is not being too much. In fact, the right people will never see your standards as too high. They will see them as a reflection of your self-respect. They will see them as an invitation to rise, to meet you at the level you deserve, to treat you with the care and dignity that you have been demanding for yourself all along. The wrong people, they will resist. They will try to guilt you. They will try to convince you that your expectations are unreasonable. And that is exactly when you must remember, your standards are non-negotiable because they are the measure of your value. Apologizing for having standards only teaches people that your respect is conditional, that they can push, manipulate, or compromise you, and you will apologize for standing firm. But the women who are truly respected, the women who are admired, the women who cannot be ignored, these women do not apologize for wanting what they deserve. They make it clear from the beginning that their heart, their time, their love, and their energy are not free to be taken for granted. They make people earn it. They set the bar high, and they refuse to lower it for anyone. And the moment you start doing the same, the world begins to treat you differently. Stop shrinking. Stop softening. Stop apologizing for having expectations. Stop thinking that demanding respect makes you unkind, or that wanting consistency makes you too much. You are not being too much. You are being real. You are not being selfish. You are being self-respecting. And the people who matter will never apologize for it. They will never question it. They will rise to meet you there. Because when you stop apologizing for having standards, you stop giving power to those who don't deserve it, and you finally start living on your own terms. And that is where your true value begins. You've been taught that keeping the peace is a virtue, that if you swallow your feelings, bite your tongue, and avoid conflict, you are being good. You are being kind. And for years, you've lived this way, thinking that silence protects relationships, that muting yourself is a form of love. But let me tell you the truth. When your kindness silences your truth, it is no longer kindness, it's self-betrayal. Every time you hold back your voice to keep someone else comfortable, you are sacrificing a piece of yourself. Every time you ignore what hurts, you are teaching yourself that your feelings are unworthy of attention, and no one else will value what you don't value yourself. Think about the moments you've stayed quiet even though your heart was screaming. How many times have you avoided telling someone what really bothered you because you feared their reaction? How many times have you swallowed your pain, your disappointment, or your needs just to avoid tension? You may call it being kind, but kindness does not require self-erasure. It does not demand that you ignore your truth so someone else can feel at ease. True kindness does not require you to compromise your voice. True kindness honors both your heart and theirs. When you remain silent to avoid conflict, the problem doesn't go away, it grows. Resentment builds. Frustration festers. You start to feel invisible, unimportant, even disposable. And the irony is, the people you're trying to protect often don't even notice. They don't see the compromise, the sacrifice, the quiet suffering behind your smile. They take it for granted. And the more you give them this free pass, the more they expect it, the more they rely on it, and the more they push your boundaries without consequence. Silence, when used as a shield, becomes a trap. You have to understand this. Your truth is your power. Your voice is your weapon. And every time you ignore it, you give away your strength. Speaking your truth doesn't make you mean. It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't make you unkind. On the contrary, it makes you whole. It makes you real. It makes the people around you recognize that you are a woman who cannot be taken lightly, a woman whose feelings, boundaries, and needs are not optional. Honesty is the highest form of kindness because it protects both your heart and theirs. It creates clarity, it creates respect, it creates relationships that are based on truth, not illusion. And here's what many women fail to realize. The people who truly deserve you will not be threatened by your honesty. They will not recoil from your boundaries or criticize you for saying what you need. They will rise to meet your truth because they see its value. They see that a woman who speaks up is a woman who respects herself and that commands respect in return. The people who are unwilling to meet you there, they are not meant to stay. They are not worthy of your energy, your love, or your kindness. And when you stop protecting them with your silence, you stop protecting the wrong people at the expense of yourself. Every time you hold back your truth to protect someone else's comfort, you are telling the world that your heart is negotiable. You are telling the world that your voice is optional, and that is not how power works. That is not how respect is earned. That is not how women are remembered. The women who are revered, the women who cannot be ignored, are not the ones who muted themselves for the comfort of others. They are the ones who spoke up, who set boundaries, who refused to compromise their truth for anyone. Stop muting yourself to keep the peace. Stop swallowing your feelings to avoid discomfort. Stop sacrificing your voice to protect someone else's ego. Because the moment you speak your truth, the moment you honor your heart, the moment you refuse to let kindness silence your reality, you finally begin to live on your terms. And that is where your power becomes undeniable. You've spent so much of your life pouring into people who barely notice when you're gone. You've given your time, your energy, your heart to people who respond with crumbs, with half effort, with indifference. And somewhere along the way, you were taught that this is what kindness looks like, that if you just keep giving, keep loving, keep sacrificing, people will eventually appreciate it. But here's the truth. Generosity is not meant to be wasted. Your heart is not a charity. Your time is not a discount store. And when you give to people who cannot or will not match your effort, you are not being kind, you are being exploited. Think about it for a moment. How many relationships, how many friendships, how many situations have you stayed in because you believed your love and your effort could fill a gap that someone else refuses to close? How many times have you bent over backward, gone the extra mile, sacrificed your sleep, your energy, your peace, all for someone who barely lifts a finger in return? That is not love. That is not kindness. That is imbalance. And imbalance always comes at a cost. It costs your energy, your self-respect, and eventually, your belief in yourself. Kindness is not about giving until you're empty. Kindness is not about bending over backward to make people comfortable while your own life falls apart. True kindness requires discernment. It requires knowing when to give and when to stop. It requires asking yourself, is this person capable of giving back? Are they valuing my effort, or am I just convenient to them? Because the moment you stop giving to those who don't deserve it, you make room for those who do. You create space for people who honor your time, who cherish your energy, and who reciprocate your love in ways that feel meaningful and real. You have to understand this. Not everyone deserves your generosity. Not everyone deserves your love. And the people who take without giving, who demand without reciprocating, who use your kindness as a tool to get what they want, they are not your people. And the moment you start seeing them for what they are, the moment you stop pouring into dead ends, you take back your power. You stop giving away what should be sacred. You stop letting people walk over your heart as if it is theirs to use. You stop teaching the world that your effort is free, that your love is cheap, that your energy is endless. And here's the truth, many women struggle to accept. Cutting off people who don't value you is not selfish. Saying no to those who drain you is not unkind. Protecting your energy is not arrogance. In fact, it is the highest form of kindness, not just to yourself, but to everyone else. When you give to people who can truly appreciate it, when you invest in relationships that are mutual, that honor your time and effort, your kindness becomes powerful. It becomes magnetic. It becomes respected. It becomes a force that uplifts both you and those who are deserving. You cannot keep watering plants that are already dead. You cannot keep giving to people who are incapable of returning anything meaningful. Your kindness is meant to nurture growth, to build strength, to inspire reciprocity. And the moment you start giving where it matters, the moment you stop giving where it doesn't, you will feel a shift. You will feel energy come back into your life. You will feel respect replace resentment. You will feel freedom instead of exhaustion. Stop pouring into people who give you the bare minimum. Stop sacrificing your heart, your time, and your energy for those who will never rise to meet you. Stop giving away what is precious without seeing value in return. Because once you do, once you start giving wisely, the world begins to recognize your worth. And that is when your life truly begins to change. You've been told that being kind means always saying yes, always accommodating, always making others comfortable, even if it costs you your dignity. You've been told that being kind means never standing up for yourself, never prioritizing your worth, and never insisting on respect. But here's the truth. Kindness should never come at the expense of your value. Your heart, your energy, your self-respect, these are not negotiable. And the moment you allow your kindness to ignore your worth, that kindness is no longer a virtue, it's a liability. Think about it. How many times have you allowed someone to take advantage of your generosity because you didn't want to seem rude or difficult? How many times have you endured behavior that made you uncomfortable, stayed quiet when you should have spoken, or tolerated inconsistency because you didn't want to upset the balance? That's not kindness. That's self-erasure. And every time you do it, you chip away at your dignity, little by little, until you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror. Real kindness doesn't require you to sacrifice your worth. Real kindness doesn't demand that you shrink yourself, soften your voice, or ignore your needs to make someone else feel comfortable. True kindness includes self-respect. True kindness honors your boundaries. True kindness refuses to give access to people who will not honor you in return. Because once you start protecting your value, once you start insisting that people meet you at the level you deserve, everything changes. People begin to treat you differently. People begin to see you differently. And most importantly, you begin to see yourself differently. You have to understand this. The world will test your boundaries. The people around you will try to push, to manipulate, to make you doubt yourself, to see how far they can go before you speak up. And if you've been giving without regard to your worth, you will let them. You will allow them to cross lines that should never be crossed. But the moment you choose your value over their convenience, the moment you refuse to tolerate disrespect, the moment you insist that your heart is not cheap, your energy is not free, and your dignity is not optional, you send a message the world cannot ignore. I am not here to be taken for granted. I am not here to be undervalued. I am here to be respected. Many women fear this kind of assertiveness. They fear it will make them appear cold, harsh, or unkind. But let me tell you something. Protecting your worth is not cruelty. Demanding respect is not arrogance. Saying no to those who drain you is not selfishness. In fact, it is the highest form of kindness, not only to yourself, but to the people around you. When you value yourself, when you honor your boundaries, you model the behavior you want others to follow. You teach people how to treat you. You make it impossible for anyone to take you lightly. Your kindness is not diminished by insisting on respect. Your generosity is not less meaningful because it is reserved for people who truly deserve it. The moment you stop giving to those who do not honor your worth, the moment you stop allowing access to people who will drain you, that is the moment your life begins to shift. You reclaim your energy, you reclaim your peace, you reclaim your power, and once you do, people will begin to see you for the woman. You really are the woman who is kind, yes, but uncompromising in her value, unwavering in her dignity, and unstoppable in her power. Stop being kind in ways that ignore your worth. Stop giving what is precious to those who will never see its value. Stop letting people take advantage of the generosity that should never have been a free gift. Because the moment you do, you stop shrinking for others, and you finally begin to rise for yourself. And that is how you become unstoppable.